Hey everyone, super excited to have you guys watch this training and recording. More than anything, I think it's such a treat that we have Sharon Cowan here, commercial cleaning expert, very well known within the industry. Sharon, you came highly regarded to us by one of our speakers, Mark Anderson, who I know that you know. And maybe for simple introductions before we dive into the training, if you just wanted to give like a minute background on who you are and what you do, and then we'll kind of jump into this training and make it fun and engaging and valuable for everyone.
Sure. Great. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it. You guys are just doing some awesome things in the industry. We're happy to have you part of our industry.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. I've been in the business about 30 years. Of course, I was only 10 when I started. Not really, but it's been a long time. I came from a teaching background for a few years, and then retail management for a few years, which involved a lot of travel. Got tired of that, so I wanted to buy my own business, and service industry seemed like the way to go. So I purchased an existing small mom and pop cleaning company local to my area. And they had 6 employees, and I kept it for about 15 years and sold it. And at the time I sold it, we were operating regionally in the state of Florida, and I had 140 employees. So I've seen a lot. And then I moved from there into doing some janitorial sales, and then some training and coaching and consulting, and then I went consulting full time. So I've been doing that the rest of the years, and I've really enjoyed it. I work with residential customers as well as commercial customers, clients, business owners. Very different animals. My business had both elements, so it gives me a little bit of a head start because I understand what the ins and outs are on both sides. So that's pretty much my background in a nutshell. I love what I do. I'm way past retirement age, but I don't care. I just keep on doing it because I really enjoy it. I really like seeing
for you.
So,
well, we look forward to kind of what you have to share here today. I mean, with all your experience, I think that's invaluable, and the fact that you've given us not just your time, but also your expertise to share with our attendees at Cleaning Profits were super valuable. So I'll kind of just pass the, give you the floor here. And then along the way, as questions come up, or I might want you to expand on a thought, I'll go ahead and elaborate, but I'll let you do your thing here, Sharon.
All right. Let me get the screen shared here. And as technology goes, we want to hope this is going.
You got it. There we go.
All right. Well, I was trying to get to the bigger. Oh, there we go. That's what I was hoping for. Okay. So today I would like to talk about something near and dear to my heart, and that is keeping the employees once you get them. We have, we're in the middle of a labor crisis, as everyone knows. From what economists tell me, that's supposed to be softening up and turning the tide on that in the next 6 months to a year, but we never know. We never know exactly what's going to happen. So we'll talk a little bit today about 3 different strategies you can use to get those employees. The biggest problems facing owners today, of course, are recruiting. Once you get them in, hire them, and then train them, and then keep them. These 3 elements really seem to cause owners a lot of heartburn. So we're going to talk about the retaining portion of this today. You all know, anyone that's been in the business for 5 minutes knows the turnover is huge in our industry, and that anything we can do to stop that bleeding cost. We've estimated costs of turnover can be close to $1,000 per employee. And while that sounds a lot, when you consider the administrative costs, a training cost, supervision, mistakes that a new employee can cost you in terms of lost customers, it's really not that far out of the ballpark. So if you need 50 employees in your business and you lose 6 employees a month, you're replacing 72 employees throughout the year, which could add up to $72,000 in turnover costs. That's money that could go back into your company, or it could go into your pocket as an owner. So it's not an area of our business that we take lightly, because owners tell me, and I know from experience, you can get accounts all day long. It's getting the people to handle the accounts and to clean the accounts. So that's one of our biggest areas of concern. I recommend.
What a powerful stat. What a powerful stat right there. I was just going to add there, Sharon, too. That's also not even factoring just the time it takes, right? To find new people and then obviously train them.
Well, the time is really important, because let's say you run an ad and you have 10 people that respond to the ad and you set up 10 appointments. You're lucky if 5 show up. And out of those 5, there may be 1 or 2 that are hireable. And so now you've taken that time to interview the people and then you hire that 1 or 2. Let's say you hire 2, maybe 1 of those shows up to work. So I do understand it's critical out there. It's a numbers game, and it's very, very costly in terms of time. One of the things that I think is important for you to do is to keep track of a 30-day retention percentage. In other words, if you hire 10, let's say you're lucky enough to hire 10 people, at the end of 30 days, how many of those people do you have left? Do you have 3 left? Because that would give you a 30% retention rate after that critical 30-day period. We'd like to shoot for about a 75% retention rate after 30 days. So if you're not tracking your 30-day retention rate, it's a good thing for you to really be looking at. And one of the key profit indicators, performance indicators of your company that you'd want to monitor. Another trend we're seeing now is called quiet quitting. And this is where out of the blue, people don't show up. They just quietly leave, they resign, and you had no clue or no idea that they were dissatisfied with their jobs. They may have found another offer down the road for more money. They may just not like the work. One of the things we hear often is that the work is really hard. Well, hello, yes, it is really hard. We all know that, and you try to portray that or talk about that during the employment interview, but a lot of them just don't get it, and they get in and actually start doing the work. So quiet quitting would speak to your involvement and engagement with your employees and monitoring their satisfaction. So we're going to talk today quickly about 3 strategies for retaining employees. The 3 key things that I feel are really important to help with your retention. First of all is to develop a strong corporate culture. If you don't have a strong corporate culture, this is what will keep a lot of people, the feeling about who you are as a company. And we'll talk about each one of these in a little more detail. You want to create a strong training program, and I can't emphasize this enough. This is really a hot button for me. Training, training, training. You can't train them enough and communicate and engage with them enough during a training program. So that's really important, that you have something strong in place. And then the third element is the use of employee recognition tools, communications, and meetings. Okay, letting them know how they're doing, giving them that pat on the back when they least expect it. These are the things that are important and are going to keep them engaged and keep them connected to your company. So I want to talk first about the role of culture and culture in your company. A lot of people don't understand what that means, and they're not sure if they even have a strong culture. So let's talk about that. And we start with the life cycle of an employee and talking about the processes you have in place for this lifestyle. In other words, do you have a hiring plan in place? Do you have standard questions that you ask of your applicants? Do you have a good onboarding and orientation program in place? How about your training? Is it in writing? Is it structured? Is there an opportunity for job growth, showing a job ladder, so where they may grow should they want those opportunities? Do you have them, and do they even know about them? Ongoing training and education. How much education are you sending them to whenever possible? How much ongoing training are you doing? Reviews. I can't tell you how many owners I talk to that don't have a systematic, orderly review process that's scheduled throughout the year for their employees. They just give them a raise whenever they think of it. So employees need not only a performance review, but a monetary review, especially as you're increasing wages for new hires. You have to increase the wages for your current employees so that there's some equity in the longevity they have with your company.
Great point.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we bring in people at higher rates and they're making the same as someone who's been with you for 3 years. You know, that's
Absolutely.
going to come back to haunt you after a while. Motivation and incentives, and we'll talk about that in our final piece on the strategies. Meetings, rewards and bonuses, always surprise rewards, whatever you can do that gives them incentive to keep on doing the good things that they're doing. Meetings, again, this is another hot button with me. I can't stress this enough. And I mean a structured meeting, and it doesn't have to be an hour meeting. It can be 15 minutes, but it can be regularly scheduled. New hires in particular need close hand-holding for the first 30 days. They need to be in constant contact with a supervisor or a trainer. The owner, whenever the owner is on the premises or available to pop in and say hello, that's a good thing. And then you need a process for discipline and termination. How do you handle these kinds of things? So this life cycle is a roadmap for you to make sure that you have processes and systems in place for every single one of these pieces of the life cycle. So developing that corporate culture, retention really begins with attracting the right people. You want to market and advertise to your ideal candidate and market to your candidates just as you would market your company to a customer. Your employees are your internal customers, and they deserve to be marketed to and told about what's good about you. In other words, why should they come to work for you? Is it only money, or is it how they feel when they're at work? If you don't have core values as a company, it's something that I recommend that you work on and that you have them prominently displayed in your office. And core values can be 1, 2, 3, 5 things, whatever you want for the values of your company. Things like integrity, kindness, caring, giving back to the community. Those kinds of things would be examples of core values. But you have to come up with what's important to your company. What does your company stand for? What are you all about? Okay. Then
I love that. Just one comment there, Sharon, before you move on. For anyone listening and watching right now, I was actually owner operator that overlooked core values for a lot of years. I thought they were useless. Finally bought into it. We developed them. And I just want to make a quick comment on how core values have changed our team. One of our core values is extreme ownership. And this last year, it's actually our first core value. We made a big mistake with a big client. There was no way around it. And our employee came to us and asked, what do we do? how can we get out of this? What can we do
Wow.
to lessen the blow?
Wow.
And, I said, what's our first core value? It's extreme ownership. And it made sense to him. He took ownership. We brought it to the client. And just by doing that, the relationship didn't weaken, it strengthened
Oh, wonderful.
because of the ownership. So use your core values in literally every decision making that you do for your business, and have your employees implement that too.
Right. And you want to look for those core values in your new hires, in every hire. And your core values should come out in every meeting that you have. And like you said, in everything that you do, they should be prominent. So if you don't have them, now is the time. It's never too late.
This is your sign.
Yes. People know when you care, they can feel it and they understand it. And, I experienced that with Angel, as a matter of fact, when I first few times I met him. He's a very caring person, and I told him about a situation that I had, and I just knew from the get-go that I would enjoy doing some projects and events and things with you guys, because he's just, he's a down-to-earth person, and I knew that he cared about me, and it was just really heartwarming. You don't find that a lot. So people know when you care, and they will tend to stay with you and be loyal when they feel that you care. If they feel you don't care, they're going to go somewhere where they'll be with someone who does care about them. There's a fine line between a toe-the-line boss and a compassionate boss. However, you can have those two combined together when your teamwork is strong. And when your team and community spirit about your company is strong, it's a little easier to execute discipline when you have to. It's not taken negatively. So keeping that team together and that community spirit is really important in the culture. People can often self-discipline because they don't want to let the team down. And that's what we have when you've got a good spirit going. It's that kind of spirit that will attract good employees, and the good ones will stay. Employees who connect with the organization feel part of it, and they don't leave. Now, teamwork is especially difficult in the janitorial side in our industry, because oftentimes these folks are working alone. If they're doing route cleaning, building to building to building to building all evening, they're by themselves. It's very difficult to engage them in teamwork. So this is where supervisors come into play, and the people out in the field giving the pat on the back, saying, here's a $25 gift card because you've been doing great and we appreciate you, out of the blue. Those are the small kinds of things that will really make a difference and connect those employees and make them feel part of the team. So training, okay, our second element, our second strategy is training. I do have a program on my website called Train to Retain, and it does go into much more depth about the training. We're just going to touch on it today. The training is so critical. We're long past the days where we hand a cleaner a mop and a bucket and show them once how to clean a bathroom and then leave them and expect them to do a good job and expect us not to get complaints. So the training has to be, and I'll go into some elements of a good training program in a second, but it really makes people comfortable with their work environment. And again, this goes back to that employee feeling good about coming to work. For many of these folks, they have tough lives, and coming to work is just one more place that they have to go. And if you make it comfortable for them, their tendency is to keep coming back. Again, when they feel you care, they're going to stay. It gives the employee the sense of accomplishment when you can teach them something new, and lo and behold, they do it. They please you. You give them the pat on the back. They're happy. They keep on doing rewarding and rewarding that good behavior and that good work makes them feel good. They have a tendency to produce more and to stay with you. It also gives that employee value to the company. It gives them meaning. They have a reason to come to work because it's important to you, it's important to the company. It also makes them feel that they matter to the company. Here we go back to that feeling important and feeling cared about and feeling that someone cares about their life. And it helps them understand the goals and the vision of the company. So these are all things that impact that employee when you have a good training program in place and when it's thorough.
I just want to pause real fast, Sharon, and for anyone watching and listening right now, maybe just take a moment and ask yourself, from everything that you just heard that Sharon just listed out, what are you doing and how can you expand on that? And then maybe some things that you aren't doing. A lot of what I hear right now, Sharon, is intangible human element type of stuff that just keeps people engaged. And that's the point of retention. When people are engaged, you have a better option at retaining, which you don't have to go through the churn, $1,000 of losing an employee every time, and you build a strong environment. So I would just encourage everyone watching this right now, ask yourself, what are you doing that Sharon's already mentioned, and how can you maybe be intentional and expand on it? And then if there are some things that you aren't doing, what can you take away from this and actually do one thing and act on it after you kind of digest everything?
Right, exactly. And most of this material would be good for a manager or supervisor meeting also, because your supervisors are the frontline people that really work with the cleaning crews in most companies, based on your size and your structure, of course. But you want to make sure that the supervisors are the ones that are really well trained in how to manage people and how to encourage people.
Great point.
So our training basics, we want to make sure that your program is structured and that it's written and that there's some consistency to the training. In other words, again, we're way past the days of handing them up in a bucket and saying, go clean it. We hope that that's the case, that we're past that. So developing that written training program, and that takes some time, I'm not going to kid you, but there are templates available, many places, many sources online where you can get a template that you can edit and put your own requirements for training into the document, but get that in writing if you don't have it in writing now. You want to develop trainers who have experience and skill to manage employees. Someone who can teach new skills. Not every person that you have training is really qualified to be a trainer. And it's really important that you pick the people that have people skills first and training skills second. That's based on my years of experience. I did find in many cases, the best cleaners were not the best trainers. And they destroyed the passion, they destroyed the commitment, and we end up losing the new hire because of the style and the technique of the trainer. The trainer was not a good people person. You can teach skills all day long, but you can't teach kindness, consideration, motivation, encouragement. You can't teach a lot of that. So those are the things that are important in a trainer besides the skill. So if you have a good trainer or two on staff, they are gold. I really think a good trainer is just as important, almost as important as the CEO of the company. I mean, they really are a key person.
Sharon, I'm going to pause you one last time, and I apologize. I just want to point out some things I think people can get value from, because you just gave me a new thought process here, which is awesome. Is okay, we know that people watching and listening to this, a lot of them are the CEO, they're the founder, they're the owner, maybe even the operator. I think you hit on a critical point there. Like this recording, if you have it, and it's exclusive to you, give it to one of your account managers, give it to your trainer, because they are the ones with hands-on to your frontline staff. And I didn't even really even consider that until you made that point. So not only utilize this training for yourself and the knowledge to give to your
Right.
management team, but have your management team watch this.
Right. And and I'm sure everyone listening at one time or another has had an experience where a new hire has left because of the trainer. And I mean, that has happened, and that should only happen once. And then that trainer should not be training any longer, unless there can be some fabulous correction in personality. But it's really a critical position in the company, and they're worth gold. One of the other things I often find is that human resource departments or owners have never created job descriptions for positions in the company. It's very difficult to hire when you don't have a clearly defined job description. And you should have that job description with you at the time of hire or in the interview time, during the time of training, and during the time of review. You want to review based off that job description, because that's what the person is supposed to be doing. And so if they're not following and they're not doing what's in that job description, it's difficult to give them a good review. So that job description is like the pathway and the Bible for these positions in this company. So if you don't have written job descriptions for every job, even if you bring in a high schooler to do laundry in your company, or a college student to perform an office admin function of some type, have a job description for it, because you can't hold them accountable if you don't have something in writing that they know and they understand. This is what I'm supposed to do. Okay, so those are really good. And then of course we use those for training and review. Successful orientation, onboarding are key factors. Again, that orientation with a trainer, and sometimes you'll use 2 or 3 people to train. You might use a admin person to get their orientation or their paperwork started. Just be aware that whomever is coming in contact with this new hire, those first impressions are important. Whoever you have handling that new hire, and if you don't have the right people in place, don't use them, because again, you're going to look at that $1,000 going out the window because someone is not treating this new hire with kid gloves and treating them well. And so there you go. You're going to have another piece of turnover. So make sure that whoever is doing the onboarding, orientation, because however that employee starts out can make the difference between whether they stay or they leave. Training, of course, is ongoing. Retraining for all employees is necessary for retention. Retraining should be on a regular basis. It can be a quarterly meeting. It can be monthly. OSHA training, by the way, is required annually, and employees have to sign off that they attended an OSHA meeting. So that is one meeting that you really can't skip. You have to have that every year. Whenever you can, team building exercises and your employee retention are great. Working as a team, maybe your company participates in Relay for Life or another charitable event, something that they can do together for the community is always a plus. An updated handbook, employee handbook, and company policy manual. These are also very important. Of course, the success of your training program has a direct impact on your ability to grow your business and keep your staff. You're in your training program, you want to make it comprehensive. You want to include technique and method. You want to include expectations and company procedures. making sure they know what to do. What happens when they get to a building and the alarm is not set, and the alarm has been set every night for the last year, and they reach the building and the alarm is not set? Do they go in? Do they call someone? What do they do? So drilling it down. Do they call a supervisor, which is normally the procedure? So just so they know what to do and what's expected. A good training program will engage that new hire, make them feel welcome. If the owner can meet them, if that's logistically possible, that's great. If not, at least, the very least, have a personal welcome letter for that new hire from the owner. A step-by-step guide with text, pictures, tests, scripts, social behavior skills. Make it complete, because remember, you're teaching them what behavior you want from them. So
Yes.
if you don't do that, you're not going to get the result. Videos are great. Video training is awesome. You can create your own videos for technical training, teaching how to clean a bathroom, how to vacuum, so forth. You can make your own, or you can purchase some that are on the market. And you want to set goals for that training. By this week, I want your bathrooms to be spotless. This is what we're working on for the first 3 days. Restrooms. So whatever the goal you set in a company or trainer sets, set those goals and benchmarks before you move on to the next skill set. But again,
I'm gonna
you can see it's very structured.
totally, and it's intentional, and that's what I love about this. One thing I do want to call out: we work with a CRM software in the cleaning space called USource, and they have a company-wide communication tool, right? That's one of their features, and you can communicate with your clients, account managers, so on and so forth.
Wonderful.
One of the biggest things we've gotten feedback on is when they get a new hire and they get into this platform, by the company sending out a personal welcome to that new hire that has everyone wrapped in on it. Like, hey, let's welcome Bob to the company. So
Awesome.
grateful to have you. And it's a small thing that goes so far, because cleaning can be a lonely world.
It is.
And we can make it lonelier if we're not intentional with people.
Right. And there's software too that they can, when they clock in. In fact, that software was new at the time I sold my company. It was just coming on the market, where they can clock in digitally. You can send a company message to everyone as they clock in. That was a beautiful thing, because they would clock in, and before they would clock in, they would get the message, and it would say, hey guys, we're doing really great. Have a great evening tonight, and look forward to seeing you all at the meeting next week. Something simple like that, another attaboy, something motivational to really set their night up, because as you said, it is a very lonely world out there. Unless they're in a high-rise building and there are 8 other cleaners, they don't see anybody and they don't talk to anybody. And so you have to go above and beyond to include them and make them feel part of the community. And then our third and final strategy is the role of recognition. Recognition, advancement possibilities, and meetings. Positive reinforcement, of course, is very important. And it doesn't mean that you have to ignore anything that's negative about what they're doing, but the more positive reinforcement you can give them, recognition in front of peers. And this is why meetings are so important. It doesn't have to be a lot. It doesn't have to be company-wide, depending on the size of your company. It can be a regional size meeting. It can be 5 people, but this is when you want to give recognition. I used to hold an annual employee appreciation day. We had
cool.
We had a day. In fact, I did 2 a year. One was a breakfast, and they got to bring all their family, their immediate family with them. And this is when we would give out certificates of appreciation. We'd give out awards, attendance awards, no complaint awards. We would have door prize drawings. And I remember, now I'm going back many, many years, but one young lady, we had a door prize and I gave away a microwave. The microwave cost me $100. Gave this microwave to her. She actually cried in front of the entire company because she had never won anything before in her life and she didn't have a microwave. So
Wow.
just doing those kinds of things just really brings your company together. So whatever you can do to pat them on the back, give them a reward in front of their peers is huge. And I can't tell you how many people told me, I took my certificate home, Mrs. Sharon, and showed my family, it's on my wall. My mother put it on the wall. So it's so meaningful to them. You just really have to take into consideration those kinds of things. Structured recognition events, of course, help build your culture. Recognize something unique to that employee whenever you can, whenever you know enough about their background. Focus on their accomplishments. That's, again, kind of the old child psychology with children. When you want them to repeat something good, you focus on that good behavior, and that's what they'll duplicate. And the same really holds true for adult employees. One of the companies I worked with a while back created a bio board, and it was kind of a cool thing. She had a hallway in her office, and on that hallway, every employee, there was a picture of every employee. Now, she wasn't a huge company, so the wall could hold the pictures, but there was a small picture, and then like about a 5x7 size card next to it with something about that employee. John has 3 children. He coaches baseball on the weekends. He loves to run. He does something important about that person, and that went up next to their picture on the wall. And so it was called the bio board. If you have a larger company and you're very remote and people don't come into your office that much, this may not be impactful. But if you are of a size that you can do something like this, and maybe your employees all meet there at 5 before they go out for their evening shifts, or maybe they meet once a week there, once a month, whatever it might be for your company, it's kind of a cool thing. And it really, the employees loved it because they saw themselves up on this bio board. You also want to celebrate monthly birthdays, milestones, work anniversaries, and you can do that in a meeting. Develop that job growth for advancement. You can show, even with using your organizational chart modified, where what they can aspire to should they want to. That will encourage them. And then you want to teach them and show them how to achieve that next level. We want to make sure that monetary and performance reviews, again, are regularly scheduled. This is a big downfall. I see it over and over again. People just don't have this regularly scheduled. And it's deflating to the employee because they want to know, if I start at this amount of money and this month, how much is this where I'm going to be for the rest of my career with you? And what does my career look like? And how much money can I make? You want to show them that path for advancement, give them clear direction on how to get there and how to achieve those career goals. And they may want to clean. A lot of them are part-time employees. They have a full-time day job, which are, quite frankly, the best kind of employees, in my opinion. That's been my experience. They want to come to work. They have a reason for wanting that extra money. And so you have a work history also to check. When you do a background check, you've got a work history. And then here's another hot button. You cannot meet with a new hire too often. Some people put them out in the field with that trainer and nobody ever talks to them again. And then they leave and everybody's scratching their head wondering why they left. If you're not meeting with them and getting some feedback daily, at least the first week, a supervisor should be meeting with that at the end of the day with that new hire every day, asking, how did we do today? How can we make your job easier? What did you learn? Is there anything you had trouble with that we want to repeat? If you don't do that close hand holding at the first week and you start losing them by week 2, they're gone by week 3. So, and you really should know, it's just like when you lose a customer, you should already know that that's coming. Losing a customer shouldn't be a surprise. Sometimes with losing an employee, it is a surprise because we have quirky people out there who
Sure.
don't, they just don't follow the rules. And they're just out there, nothing we can do about those. But if you haven't made that effort to really get to know that new hire and how they're feeling about their job, then you're setting yourself up to have them take a walk and not show up. And sometimes they'll do that in spite of the meetings that you have with them, but at least try and get the meetings and get the feedback. I do know of companies that assign a buddy. They have a buddy system and it's not the trainer. So the buddy is the one that meets with that person at the end of the work shift or the beginning of the next work shift, and to see how they're doing. They can text the buddy. Sometimes they're not so comfortable with the trainer. So it's a strategy that has worked in other places. And of course, then finally, motivational and company-wide meetings. That's so important for culture and motivation and recognition. All of those things wrap up. So the 3 strategies: developing your culture of caring, enhance training and follow-up, and encourage recognition and advancement opportunities in communication. And if you can focus on those 3 things, and some of the listeners are probably doing all 3, some may be doing 1, some may be doing 2, but it takes all 3 to really work, because we have to try as often as we get faced with employees who don't care and they leave, and we all know they're out there, we're not living in Pollyanna land. It's just that if we don't try on our end, we'll never save the ones that are really worth saving.
Yes. Well, this is so valuable, Sharon.
That's it.
Well, this is awesome.
That's the summary. There's hopefully a lot of information in there. Chucked full.
Not just information, it's just valuable information. So as you guys can see on the screen here, if you guys want to work with Sharon or just get in touch and learn more about Sharon, which I highly recommend you do, cleaningbusinessconsultinggroup.com. We recommend her fully, and I think we do a good job at kind of bringing chosen people into our network. So Sharon, this was amazing. Would love to do future trainings with you at a future date, but thank you so very much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Any final words?
Well, the employees that you get are valuable. And so you have to really think outside the box and think about your first days at a new company and how you felt, and do whatever you can do to keep them engaged. Of course, not all of them are going to be successful, and those you have to weed out quickly, but keeping the good ones is worth the time and money you put into it.
Absolutely. Well said. Well, thank you guys for listening and watching. Can't wait to see what strategies of employee retention that you guys implement. And Sharon, thank you again.
You're very welcome. My pleasure.